Well,
Oh,
welcome
beautiful.
everybody. We're so glad you're all here
Thank
today. This is great. I think perhaps more people attended than may have registered. So if that's you, which is great, welcome. We're so delighted you're here. But I just want to say before I forget, if you want a copy of the handouts, the presentation, and the follow-up email that we're going to be sending after this presentation, and if you didn't register online, please add your name and email address to a sign-up sheet that is at this table over here before you leave today, okay? And we'll get that all out to you so you'll have it. So welcome, welcome. How many of you are here for the very first time for a Solo Ager event? Wow, that's quite a few of you. Great. Well, obviously this particular topic resonated with you, and I'm so glad that it did. My name is Mary Ann de Blasi, and I'm on the Solo Ager Network Planning Committee, along with my esteemed colleagues, Thea Curtin, hello Thea, wave, Terry Fuller on that end, Suzanne Norton, who's a social worker here at the Jenks, and also Carol Keller, who maybe some of you know, but she's not here today. She wasn't able to be here. So we're so glad you're here. So who is a Solo Ager? A Solo Ager, as we define it, is someone who does not have, an older adult who does not have sufficient network of support from family or friends. When I say that, it's typically if you're married, it's your spouse that will step in, or adult children. But that's how we define Solo Ager, just how you define it as not a sufficient network of support. And who can attend these Solo Ager events? You do not need to be a Solo Ager. You just need to be anybody who is interested in this topic. Everybody is welcome. However, our topics that we choose for these series are selected because they meet the unique needs of Solo Agers. And so what is the Solo Ager Network? It's really an educational series with the 3 E's: to educate, to empower, and to encourage people to identify the solutions and services that are available out there so they can create their own personalized plan for as they age. And primarily we learn from industry experts, which we have here today, who I'll introduce in a minute. And also, but we also have, we had our first social event in February. So we're kind of expanding what we do. And by the way, this is the 1-year anniversary of our first event. We launched last March, and this is our 8th program. So we've been busy this year, and you've all been busy attending. So I'm so delighted to see so many of you return. And the whole goal of the Solo Ager Network is to help you to know what services and solutions are available before you need them. Because if you're in a crisis situation or an urgent need, you don't have time to do the research. So want to know what's available out there that you can tap into when you need it. It helps you to for you to decide what you want, and so that your wishes can be known by somebody who is caring for you or loves you or supports you, so that they know what your wishes are. And a common concern is, that we often hear, is, I don't want to be a burden to others. So if you can, the magic of PowerPoint. So having a plan creates peace of mind for you and your loved ones. Okay. So these are the elements when we talk about a personalized care plan as you age. So these are I'm not going to repeat all of them. They're, by the way, the elements of this presentation are on your intro, your Solo Ager Network 1-page handout, which you can use to take notes on, but it's like all this information is in there. Today, our topic, making your home work for you, is in the aging at home category. So we're excited because I know that's what most people want. That's certainly what I want. Okay. And and just wanted to mention, tomorrow we'll be emailing out a past programs handout. So if you missed the previous presentations, you'll have the title, the description, and contact information for that speaker. So just so you know. And who do you call when you do have a situation that you want to get addressed? First is you can call the speaker who you have the option of selecting that, contacting the speaker who delivered a presentation on that particular related to your issue. You can also call your local senior center. Here in Winchester, we're delighted that it's the Jenks, and Suzanne Norton is the social worker. And third, Minuteman Senior Services, you can contact them. They have a depth and breadth of resources both for local community, both the services they provide as well as in the community. And I got their email yesterday, and they manage 20 programs as part of Minuteman Senior Services. Great resource. Okay, next. So what's coming up? In April, we have Care Management for Aging with Support and Advocacy. So we'll be talking about, that's a care manager who can it's kind of like your primary care coordinator for your health care. It's a primary care coordinator for your home care. Let's just put it simply that way. And in May, Drive Safer, Drive Longer. Fantastic presentation, all of them are. I don't know about you, but that's certainly a goal of mine, is to drive longer and safer. And then in the fall, we're going to be creating a life transition binder. We both have a topic of 1 hour, just a standalone topic in September, and then we have a 4-week workshop series, October through November, early November. Just want to mention that Jenks is hosting, it's not a solo ager event, but it is endorsed by us as valuable for solo agers. In March, there's a financial assistance workshop that's being hosted by the Jenks, so you can look at their newsletter for that. And by the way, you also have these upcoming spring programs. You have a half-page handout on your chair. All right, so this is the Solo Ager Network intro. We're going to hear from our wonderful speaker in just a minute. Again, take notes on the back of this page unless you brought a notebook with you. We have pens up here. If you need a pen, there's pens at the table. We're going to hold questions to the end so that we don't interrupt the flow of the presentation. And then if you want to speak with Shannon afterwards, you can speak. We ask you to move to the back of the room, because after a quick break, we're going to come back and we're going to have a conversation with each other, because some of the best learning happens from and with each other. So you guys all have tremendous amount of wisdom and knowledge to share and questions to ask. Finally, if you have cell phones or anything else that will beep or make noise, please silence them. We have an accessible bathroom right outside the door on the left. Place your feedback forms on this table over here on the right. Please, we value your feedback. We listen to your feedback. We make changes based on your feedback. So please provide feedback for us. It's really valuable for us. And finally, today's speaker, Shannon Hardy, who is an occupational therapist at Healthy Aging PT. And I think she's going to introduce herself with her credentials. I'll just introduce you with a personal story of how I know Shannon. In November, I hurt my shoulder, and I was really concerned about areas in my home that were a chronic stress from my shoulder. So spoke with Suzanne. She referred me to Healthy Aging PT. I got connected with Shannon, and Shannon came out to my house and did a personalized, we had a conversation, and she did a personalized kind of assessment of my home and what was my concerns, what was bothering me, and together she came up with all sorts of creative, simple solutions. And one of my primary concerns, as Shannon knows, is my Nana's chair, which I have had since my Nana passed away when I was young. She passed away when I was 14. I inherited her beloved chair that was her chair. It's now my chair. And it was hard to get in and out of. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to have to get rid of Nana's chair? I don't want to get rid of Nana's chair, but if I have to, I guess I will. Shannon saved the day. My Nana's chair lives on to support me and be the beloved chair that I that I have. And so anyway, it was wonderful. And then her report included all sorts of suggestions for the future, not only today, but potentially what might be beneficial in the future. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Shannon. And thank you so much for being here, because when she came to my house, I was like, at the end, I'm like, hey, we have the Solo Ager Network. Can you come talk with us? And she's like, and graciously and enthusiastically said yes. So thank you, Shannon.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me, and what a turnout. I think sometimes it can be hard to show up to these spaces, and I think it's great that you all, what a collaborative group, and I love that you leave time for everyone to talk after. Someone just asked, oh, how often do you come out here and do these things? And I was like, I don't. I'm usually out in the field. I'm usually going to people's houses, and which I love so much, but it's even better to get everyone all in one space like this and share what I do, so that way we can reach more people. So let me just go to my slide here. So today I'm just going to talk about how can we make your homework for you. I'll talk about home safety and aging in place. So my name is Shannon Hardy. I'm an occupational therapist. I did my undergrad at BC and then took some time off before I realized what I wanted to do, and I went to school for at Tufts. I'm a Power Move certified therapist, which is an exercise program for people with Parkinson's, and then also a certified therapist for it's called the HEART program. It's a home hazard removal program. I'm part of Healthy Aging Physical Therapy, which is how I got connected with Mary Ann. And so we are an outpatient therapy service, but we come to your we have physical therapy and occupational therapy, and then we also do wellness visits. Some of you may have seen our fitness programs at local senior centers. We run group classes, but we can talk about that after if anyone's interested. So today I would love, oh, I'm not advancing on here. You don't need to see me. All right, so today I want to teach you how to feel empowered to create safe and functional living spaces, how to continue to proactively plan. I mean, you're all here, so I feel like that shows how proactive you are. And then just learn ways for you to make your day-to-day easier. And we'll get to how that can be. So just a show of hands, and maybe this isn't something you've thought about, maybe by the end you'll have a different way of framing it, but I don't want you to answer this, more of a show of hands of, have any of you thought of that you would like to change something in your home to make it easier? Okay. So aging in the United States. So we're experiencing a shift, a notable shift towards an aging population. And so as of 2023, approximately 17.7% of the US population is over 65. The median age has risen to 38.8 years. And by 2035, it's anticipated that older adults will surpass the number of children under 18. Aging in place, so continuing to live in your own home and community as one ages, it's a preference shared by many older adults. The CDC defines aging in place as the ability to live in one's own home and community safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of age, income, or ability level. And according to surveys, 90% of people hope to age in their home. And as of 2023, 81% of individuals aged 70 to 75 do own their own homes. So the benefits, the research does show remaining in your familiar surroundings does contribute to positively to your emotional well-being, to life satisfaction. You can maintain social connections, and it's cost effective. It's more economical. The average monthly cost in Massachusetts, as you can see, I'm not connected here to here, so sorry that I'm not advancing. The average cost of assisted living in Massachusetts is about $6,400, and the average monthly cost of a private room in a nursing home is over $13,000. So while there are maybe expenses associated with home modifications and in-home care, these costs are often less than the cost of living elsewhere. As we age, we become well aware that there are just natural, physical and cognitive changes that can happen. Changes in vision, strength, balance, mobility. And statistics show that falls are common. 1 in 4 older adults fall each year, and half of these occur in people's homes. Falls are the leading cause of injury-related hospitalizations, of hip fractures, traumatic brain injuries. And if rates continue to rise, we can anticipate 7 fall deaths every hour by 2030, which is just don't like to think about it like that. So what can we do here? 9 in 10 homes do not have the home modifications in place to support safely aging in place. And 1/3 of falls are due to environmental factors. So just, clutter, different things in your home. The most common place in the home where people fall are in the bedroom and the bathroom, and usually with a transition from carpet to non-carpet. And so here we are with this situation. 90% of people want to live at home, yet most people don't have the modifications they need. There is something in the research about the fall cycle. So typically, if you have a fall, it becomes this, it can trigger a downward spiral, leading to restricting activities, and then losing muscle, and then increasing your risk of falling. So we really want to avoid that, which is why, we're all here. It's all about preparing. So remember, 50% of the falls occur in the home, and 1/3 of them can be attributed to something within the environment. So what can we do to prevent? Through exercise, health management, going to your annual physical, getting your vision, keeping your annual visits for vision, doing some balance training, but also just making home modifications, which is where I'll focus on today. According to the CDC, 40% of falls could be reduced just by modifying the home. So what I do is I complete home safety evaluations. So that's an assessment where I go into the home and I look at potential hazards, but I also take into account the attributes of each person that I go in and see. And so really ensuring that the homes are equipped with modifications, but that it's tailored to how you live. It's customized. Home safety evaluations, they're not prescriptive based. It's definitely not one size fits all. It's not a yes/no checklist. What we look for it to be very collaborative and taking a problem-safe approach, taking into your values, your roles, who else is coming into the home, and just making it so that if you have one problem or issue, let's think of multiple solutions, and then you pick and choose, and then over time, if that's not working for you, you have like a backup plan. So here at Healthy Aging Physical Therapy, the company I work for, we use the Home Hazard Removal Program. So it's an evidence-based approach for reducing fall risk. It starts with an initial home safety assessment, and that's what Marianne alluded to, that we did at her home. Typically about 90 minutes, where we can make modifications on that day, but oftentimes there will be follow-up visits, which we didn't get to. This is a new program, actually, as of since working with you. So 2 to 3 visits where we can try different things. You let us know what's comfortable for you, and if it's not working out, we change it. And then another check-in about 3 to 6 months later, just to make sure that everything's going well. So at our company, we have occupational therapists and physical therapists, and they're uniquely qualified in a way to conduct these home safety evaluations because of expertise with mobility, functional independence. As an OT, we look at all life roles, starting with just your ability to dress and bathe yourself, but then also to, pet care, your hobbies, gardening, just the span of what you do as an individual. Sometimes what I've come across is people will have, say, grab bars in their homes, and like a home repair person has come in and put them on, and that's great. But I feel like we go one step further where we're able to educate and train people how to use the modifications. So I keep saying this, but I feel like we take a client-centered approach because we really want to make sure that people are on board with what we are recommending. It's not one-sided, because if I'm going to say something that I think works for you, but you're not on board, I mean, what's the chances that you're going to stick with it? We want to make people feel autonomous, but also feel like they can then generalize strategies down the road and in the future for changes they can make in their own homes. So let's start with the first part is the initial conversation, which I love. I get to really know who I'm working with. So we'll sit down and I'll want to know, like, what is a typical day? What are your hobbies? And what are some of your goals in terms of working with an occupational therapist or a physical therapist? I'll ask you about any current challenges. And I find sometimes there doesn't have to be a challenge. A lot of this is being proactive in nature anyway. But as we talk and I get to know you, certain things might come up that you're like, oh, you know what, that could be considered a challenge. Like, I get really tired when I am getting ready after a shower. I'm saying I'm blow drying my hair, or I'm in the kitchen and I love to cook, but it's getting tired easily. So that can come up. The challenge is you just never know what we'll find. But then I'm going to look at personal factors that we take into consideration your age. Do you have any visual impairments, any previous falls, a fear of falling? Do you use a certain, like a cane or a walker? And it's a lot of open-ended questions. I want you to tell me about you. Yes. You know, we are getting to the suggestions in the next few slides. I just want to outline exactly what it looks like. So then I want to walk through the home. So getting a room by room sense of, you know, the bathroom, the kitchen, the bedroom, your entryways, even the outside of your home. And it's not, I couldn't do this if you're not there, right? So when someone comes into your home, we want to see how you move within your home and also how you do something in your home. So like taking groceries out, or even like preparing a simple meal. So there are 3 different kinds of modifications that we're going to look at that can be tailored to a person. So first are physical changes. So there could be architectural changes. If you have a tub, but it's hard to step into, like a tub cutout, that's more long-lasting, a little bit more expensive. Adaptive equipment would be more like a shower chair or a raised toilet seat. And then there's the idea of maybe changing how you do something. So a task modification, adjusting your habits. So like if you get up in the middle of the night and you're used to just going into the bathroom and not turning on a light, finding ways to maybe have a better light source. Or more recently, I had a client who, you know, takes all the groceries in and then usually is already on to like the next activity. So what they do is, you know, they're holding their bag and they're taking out their groceries and trying to put it in. It's just a lot to manage. So we looked at that and we said, okay, let's go get a like a foldable cart to put your groceries in, so you don't have to do so many trips to and from the car. Then when you come in, instead of holding your grocery bag and putting things into the fridge all at once, put things down on one surface. And it sounds simple, but I think sometimes we get caught in these our routines and don't think of like other ways to maybe change it so it's safe from like a balance perspective. And then there's personal assistance. Some people might need resources for maybe like meal delivery, if cooking is tiring, things like that. So one thing to keep in mind when making like a change in your home is aesthetics. Sometimes you can hesitate on doing it because you don't want to change the appearance, but what we like to do is try to focus on blending it with what you have. And just the focus on the shared decision making, and helping you become aware, training you to become like your own expert in seeing, looking at your stuff, like, oh, now I'm noticing that cord that's on the ground, or I love this rug, but it does kind of curl up at the end, or it moves when I walk on it. So that way you can address things when a therapist isn't there. And then after all is said and done, if someone comes in to do a home safety evaluation, you'll get a report after, and that's what Marianne was referencing. And it will just prioritize recommendations and like give you a sense of what we had talked about, just summarizes it. But then we'll give recommendations like, replace that loose rug, consider doing that with a non-slip mat. For some people, say it's hard to open up a door. And so instead of having the regular knob, to do the lever door. And in that report, if you have access to a computer, usually there can be like videos on how to use things or pictures of recommended products. But follow-up is key, as home safety is ongoing. It's an iterative process. Say something happens and you hurt your arm, we have to then maybe relook at how you're doing things. So just reassessing and modifying and adapting over time. So now I just wanted to, there'll be some slides with pictures of just some quick wins that can make a big difference. And maybe it's something you already have going on at your home. There's different ways to look at it too. You can think of it room specific wise, or just in general. But like for in the bathroom, like a handheld shower head, and making sure you have like the non-slip rugs. But forget this slide, let me show you some of the pictures that we have here. So for floor surfaces, when we come in now, we have like a bag of tools. And one of the things that I like to say is the rug tape. So a lot of these nice rugs that we have over time can curl up, or they don't have like that anti-slip pad underneath. So for pretty cheaply, you can add that yellow tape underneath to keep it from sliding. There's the anti-slip tread, the black tape that you can add to steps. And it also creates a nice contrast, so that way you notice it too. It's not just slip-wise, you will notice the stairs more. For tubs, sometimes the anti-slip mats that people sell, they don't work, or they can kind of get gross over time. But a simple fix, if you have access to Amazon, or if not Amazon, we can find other ways. They have sticky tread that you can apply to your bathtub and even outside your bathtub, so that when you step out, you kind of have that tactile sensation, and it keeps from slipping. Another big thing, and sometimes it's not as noticeable, maybe until if someone comes to your home and is using a cane or a walker, or even without, just like a raised thresholds can be difficult, problematic places for people where they might trip. And so you can bring your attention to it by putting tape on it, but if that feels like that color contrast you're not really wanting in your home, there's these strips, transition strip edging that you can put on just to create a gradual incline and decline at those thresholds. In the bathroom, so I was saying before, like I like to give options for people, and so one thing I didn't put on here was just, you could, if your toilet you're finding it's hard to get up from, you could replace it completely to something that's taller. You could add what is here an elevator seat. That's probably one of the most common, I would say, adaptations that people end up doing. And the rails can come off, so if you're feeling like you don't need that arm support. On the other side is a shower chair. So oftentimes the idea of using a shower chair, if you find that you're fatiguing after a shower, or just hard to stay standing, consider putting a surface to sit on. It doesn't have to have the rails, it could just be a little stool. But getting a handheld shower is always helpful, and you can always, if it can't come, you don't have a place to put it, on Amazon for $10, you could get like, it's like a suction cup that you can mount it to. And then also what we I have found helpful is like for shower curtains, ones that have pockets, so it kind of decreases the clutter around you, and it's just an easy spot to just reach what you need. I recently saw something too. Sometimes it's hard to see in the shower. You have the water coming at you, and so adding, like, if you're not sure what your conditioner or shampoo is, and you put a rubber band around your shampoo, so you're like, you feel for it instead of using your eyesight, and it's like, okay, that's my shampoo, that's the one rubber band, and the 2 rubber bands is my conditioner. In the bedroom, so a lot of it recommendation-wise, comes down to lighting, because you can't always control where the light source is with a plug. So there are motion sensor detecting night lights that are battery operated and can usually stick to like a wall, so don't leave anything if you want to remove it after. And those can be great on your way to getting to a light switch. Even just tap lights, instead of having to bother with trying to turn them on in a different way. Easy tap can make it easier for you to then have light if you have to get up in the middle of the night. And then there's bed rails. They can look different than that, even more minimalistic than what is in the picture. But just adding a bed rail to your bed sometimes can really help with getting in and out of bed without having to get a whole new bed frame and mattress that is higher or lower. Now, in the living room, a lot of it, that's a place where you may gather and to watch TV, have people over. And sometimes where you're sitting, it can be hard to get up from. There's different ways to approach it. You can add risers to any piece of furniture that might seem a little bit too low. And when you do that, your eyes don't typically go to the feet to notice it, but it can really give you another option of a place to sit if you weren't typically sitting on your couch if it felt too low. You can always add a cushion to it, or these rails on the sides. All the way over to on the side there is what we call a couch cane. So people can use it to pull themselves up to stand. And then just from an organizational approach, like I have one person, they are always dropping or they can't find their remote control, but just having a way to get organized and put that on, excuse me, over their couch to have it in the same place every time. More often than not, when I go to different people's houses with kitchens, a lot of chairs don't have armrests, and that can be a struggle for a lot of the patients I see trying to get up from. And so that usually can be a quick fix. Be like, oh, is there a different chair in the house that has armrests? If you do enjoy spending time in the kitchen, but you find that maybe you fatigue easy, just having a foldable stool can be helpful, that you can just tuck it away if you don't need it, but then taking it out if you're chopping vegetables or something like that. And what I said before, this foldable cart can come in handy, because if you're taking the trash out, you don't want to have to do multiple trips, or if you're feeling off balance, you can put everything in the foldable cart. It could also be used for laundry and for groceries. Again, a lot of these are just like examples of things that have been recommended, but it could be different for you. So I'm just doing it from the perspective of what I've seen before. So these bottom 2 items were just to highlight that if you're in the kitchen and have something coming up, I can help strategize. So in particular, I've had clients with like arthritis and chopping is hard. And so there's a product that can help chop, and you don't need to use your wrists and hands. I had this one who was a tea lover, and it was becoming very hard for her to pour her hot water into her mug. So we found together like that there was an electric tea kettle that you tilt. So that's kind of, I just want to show like that's the lens that we come at. Maybe this doesn't relate to you at all, but maybe there's something that does. And so I don't have the answer in front of me here, but we can find something out there that could work. And if that doesn't work, I take it on myself to be like, okay, we need to problem solve this if this is important to you. So some activities that some people might do, and examples of how I've helped modify, or someone or other therapists have. Doing the laundry can be fatiguing. Like you think you're bending. Some people have front loaders or top loaders. To avoid all the bending, you can raise up the laundry and have it on a cart with wheels. Sometimes things get stuck in there, or sometimes you can't see. So I remember I had this client with the top loader, and constantly, like, the socks or underwear were in there, and she, just trying to reach for it, and doing so kind of gets off balance. So we put a mirror so she could see what was in there instead of just kind of fumbling around. And then on the wall, we have a grabber that's on a hook. So if anything is in there, you use the grabber to get it. There's the idea of these mesh bags. So instead of like taking all the laundry and it's falling everywhere, you divide your load into these 3 small bags and it washes like that. And then you just grab the 1 bag at a time and put it in to the dryer, just to avoid all that fumbling and the chance to maybe fall. Sometimes the detergent's super heavy, and so now they make things in so many different ways. Now you use a pod instead of like lifting a heavy thing. Again, just trying to give you an idea kind of the different ways we could try to brainstorm. And it's endless. So like in the bathroom, a lot of these, especially older homes have like the small pedestal sinks, like some of the half baths. If that's a spot that you typically get ready in, there is in the center here, like a foldable mat that can unfold, and you put everything on there for while you're getting ready. Marianne, I remember we talked about this, with your shoulder, like if you get tired or if you have shoulder pain but you want to blow dry your hair, there's hair dryer holders. There's extendable holders for razors. There's long-handled brushes for applying lotion. Automatic toothbrush dispensers, toothpaste dispensers. One of the biggest things, and one thing I didn't say, I used to work, and I still work in inpatient setting, and now I do home care, but a lot of the time, say after a hip replacement or a knee replacement, it's hard to get dressed. As we get older, the flexibility isn't quite there, and so there's a lot of small things you can do to help. If it's hard to tie your shoes, you can sub out those shoelaces for elastic shoelaces. There's the socking. Have any of you seen or used any of these products? The reacher, you put around the band of your pants so you can easily step your foot into, so you're not like bending down. So it helps conserve energy, but if you have back pain, that's a win. If you just have a temporary, like you had your hip done, like that's just temporary where you're not supposed to be bending. So there's different ways that you can then put on your socks, your shoes. If your hands have like poor grip, you can easily, there's something called a button hook. You can keep wearing those favorite shirts. And then say you have pets. One of the things that I frequently see is people will be feeding their pets in a very high trafficked area with all the, the water and the food. So trying to move that to an area that isn't as highly trafficked. But then also, is it worth getting an automatic water dispenser and food dispenser? More cheaply, you could get something that's on the floor, but it has a stick. And so what you do is you line it up and twist it, and then the dish comes up. So that way you're not bending all the way down. And then one thing, Marianne, we went to your garage, we looked at your car. Like, I want to see how are you doing that? What the approach that you're taking? And then can I give you some ideas of how maybe it could be easier? Sometimes reaching for that seatbelt, that can be tricky if you have like a bad shoulder. So in this bottom, you guys should tell me, here, someone has this hook that helps grab the seatbelt for them. Your leg, maybe you did something to it recently and it's hard to get it in. You could keep a leg loop, that yellow thing in your car, to just give your leg what it needs to come in. Some of these things I did bring, so if there was something that looks interesting to you, there's a chance I might have it. So like a car cane, different ways to get in. And in the center here, this is like a swivel. it's a pat on a swivel. So if it's hard sometimes for people to get them, you put that down, and next thing you know, it takes that much less energy, and you're in. So how this is different from just coming in and dropping off equipment. I want to teach you habits. Like when you go into a room, look first. And be like, okay, what's around? Like if you go to a friend's house, okay, do they have a dog? Like just be aware of what's around. And try, like I'm not doing right now, pause and take a deep breath. And turn the lights on. Like if you've lived in the same place, you're pretty well aware of your surroundings, but the lighting can really help. And just using proper body mechanics. So that idea of bending down to get your pet's dish, maybe there's a way we can change that. And another thing that sometimes gets overlooked is vision care. So keep those annual appointments. Wash your eyeglasses daily. Get in the habit of doing that. Take off your bifocals before you start walking. And then medication-wise, just side effect interactions, because sometimes that plays a role in balance. So for the home hazard removal program, like I said, it was an in-home assessment and then a tailored plan. So if this sounded like something of interest, someone from the company could come out and help you. But then we have a list of, actually at your chair on the back, of just local services that if you kind of know, you know what, when I get up from that toilet or if I'm getting into the shower, I could use a grab bar. That might be helpful. There are home repair specialist company names, Natal out of Wilmington, and Operation Independence, I believe, is out of Waltham. And then I think, Marianne, didn't you have the home fit people here recently? Yeah, so this kind of ties in with that. So you have that as a resource too. All of this doesn't go without saying with costs and coverage, insurance considerations. So with home safety evaluations usually, or home modifications for any medical equipment, there has to be a medical need. And for it to be covered by insurance. And then out-of-pocket costs. So when people do home safety assessments, they really want to take that into consideration. So starting with maybe like the easier wins first, but if there's something more extensive that you're looking to do, you can give feedback to that degree as well. So really, it's just all about preparing. And maybe you don't need something now, but if something resonated with you, just thinking like, okay, like maybe it is worth making a small change here or there. So what you can do, feel free, you can talk to me at the end after if you wanted anyone to come out and just take a look at your home and how you do things. If anything, you're having any challenges or just want to talk. But like I said, I think the big thing is that you're part of the Solo Agers network. I think that's so great, and the resources that come out of it. I know that as a company, we've learned just of different ones that exist that we didn't know were in our own community, because so much can happen in isolation, and this is just a nice way to bridge all those gaps. So without, our services are if there's a functional need. So for Medicare B, will say if that's medical necessity. And so there are ways that we can like look at, strength and range of motion and be like, okay, because your shoulder's bothering you, that's why I'm here for this assessment. And sometimes more will come out of the assessment than just what started off as the shoulder, if that makes sense. All right, so I want to give people the opportunity, you said, to just kind of take a break first, or? No, we can go Q&A and then we'll take a break. Okay. Oh, sure. Does anyone have any questions? Yes.
I'm sorry, can I just say something first that I should have said earlier? Let me just say that this session is being recorded on WinCam, so
Yeah.
you'll be able to watch it again. WinCam is our local cable access channel. So I just want to remind people that when you're asking a question, it's also being recorded. And if you want to have a kind of a more private, personal question with Shannon, she'll be available and back. I just wanted to make sure that I said that before we all started chatting. And I just want to kind of add or just say something about what Shannon, I experienced Shannon. She just came in and I was just really impressed. Hearing the presentation, I go, oh, okay. Now I understand, I really understand the full scope of it. And I have seen home safety presentations, assessment presentations before. I just feel like the process that she went through was so personalized, so tailored, so customized, so for me, and very creative, simple, practical solutions was what my experience was as being her client. So anyway, with that, here you go. You have a mic. Okay.
So the home safety assessment that you do, you said Medicare will cover this?
So it depends. With that, there just has to be a medical need. So if it is preventive in nature and you're just looking even like to the future and you don't have any medical necessity, then it would be out of pocket.
So if a person does have a medical necessity, do we have to get our primary care to write something before you come?
So that, depending on the kind of insurance that you have. So
Medicare.
So yes, if you have, actually, Marianne, you didn't go through that. No, you can call. You could call, and then from there, the office manager could set up an evaluation. Yeah, just without the referral. Yeah.
Okay, and then any of those really things that you showed up there, would Medicare also cover the purchase of some of those if we needed it deemed by your evaluation?
So that's where, again, it's a lot of a shower chair and can be covered, and or a mobility device if a therapist thinks that it needs to be covered if you haven't had one in 5 years. Beyond that, or a raised toilet seat. Those are the some of the big ones that can typically be covered.
Is mobility considered getting in and out of the car? Things that you showed were things that I would really like to have.
Yeah.
Is that considered under mobility?
Those little, like the handles
all of those.
Those
actually.
aren't. No,
they are
unfortunately,
not.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, good questions.
Okay.
So those are probably between 10 and 30 for the ones on the car page. $10 and $30. Yeah.
Is there a single place where you can go for these kind of things?
A single place?
Is there a single place where you can go for these kind of things?
No. So oftentimes, I hate to give them credit, but Amazon, and I know not everyone has computer access, so that's something I like to take into account too. So if that's not where you would shop, we will look at local stores.
If anybody would want to have really touchy, not only the delivery.
Exactly, right? And thank goodness for return policies, because sometimes you actually need to try it to know if it's going to work. Because it can be like, oh yeah, there's quick fix for this, quick fix for that, but till you really use it, like you don't know if it's going to work. So I try to have a lot of samples products, so that way like some of the car stuff I have, and I'll try it as part of a therapy session with a client. Yeah.
There used to be a home health place. There used to be a home health place in Woburn Center where you could go for all of these different things, and it was a big, big place, and you could just say that fits me fine.
Yes.
It's gone.
Oh, I don't know if you're talking about the Masons. It's like a loan program of medical equipment, but this is different. It's unfortunate, right? Because now everything's online. I don't like it either.
I'm about to have knee replacement surgery, so I've been looking into these things. There is a medical supply store in Belmont.
Yes.
Now, thank goodness. I mean, I when I found out that the one in Woburn was closed, that was devastating.
Because there's something about seeing it, right? And seeing all the different options.
Yes, and I also found that some things were available at my local pharmacy.
Like a Walgreens or a CVS? Or more
like
mom and pop?
Winchester Pharmacy.
Okay. Yes. All right. Well, thank you.